Hello, we have another couple of relations here. What are your names, please?
Mr. and Mrs. Irving Zimmerman, Mildred Zimmerman and Irving Zimmerman.
And what is your relationship here to the bride and groom?
I'm the bride's sister.
And I'm the bride's brother-in-law.
Well, you having a good time?
Wonderful. Couldn't be any nicer.
Oh, you look all right, both of you. Very happy.
Well,
how does your sister look to you? She looks very much like you.
Gorgeous. Yes, she does.
She
My
makes
kid
the most
sister.
beautiful bride.
Yeah. Well, she's your kid sister, huh?
That's right.
Well, you must be pretty close to her then. At least you must have been before you were married. Tell us a little bit about her. What sort of girl is she?
She's just wonderful, that's all.
What are her interests?
Well, she's a dress designer. She's interested in violin. She's a violin player. She's just an all-around girl.
How's she going to be around the house?
Wonderful. She's very handy.
The only thing she should do is smile when she gets up in the morning.
That's some good advice. Well, how do your mother and dad look to you?
Grand. Wonderful. They should always look as they do now.
Well, okay, thanks a lot. That's from Mr. and Mrs.
Irving Zimmerman.
Thanks very much. That's the bride's sister and brother-in-law. Sure. Who do we have here now?
Mr. and Mrs. Sid Rothberg.
And what is your relationship here?
I'm the bride's brother-in-law, and this is the bride's sister.
Oh, the bride's other sister, huh?
Yes, she has
Well,
3 sisters, and let me see, how many brother-in-laws? 4 or 3?
3 sisters? Is that right?
3 sisters.
Well, I'd like to know now from you, how does she look to you?
Wonderful.
Well, you look pretty good, too. How does your wife look to you?
Oh, my wife looks wonderful. My life doesn't look so wonderful.
Well, all right. I'd like to ask you now, do you have some good old-fashioned advice for them? How long are you married?
We're married 3.5 years. Yes, if they did what we did, then they'll get along, too.
Now, what was that?
We don't want to tell them.
You have some,
Smiling.
you have some honeymoon advice for them?
Not
I
much.
already gave it to Leonard.
How about you, for your sister?
I gave it to her already.
Well, all right. Suppose you wish them good luck, then.
Good luck,
Lots
Gloria.
of luck.
That's
Good luck, Lenny.
And Sid.
That's from Mr. and Mrs.
Sid Rothberg.
Thanks a lot. We have another sister of the groom, is that right?
That's right.
And brother-in-law.
That's right.
What is your name, please?
Rosalyn.
And Aaron.
Well, suppose you tell us what you think of this whole thing. I've been speaking to the other sisters and brothers.
Oh, I think the most beautiful wedding I've ever attended, and I'm very thrilled because it's my brothers and my future sister-in-laws, and I can go on and on and on because I can talk a lot.
Well, she's not your future sister-in-law. She really is your sister-in-law now.
right.
And now, does that mean all the children are married here?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
In the
yeah.
Hoffman family,
Yeah,
huh? Now, what do you-
that's right.
How about your parents are all going to go on a second honeymoon, perhaps, huh?
That's right.
We hope so. We hope so. I just hope my brother-in-law and sister-in-law both agree and both appreciate what we did for them, sweating like hell.
Well, yeah. You're having a good time, though, aren't you?
Wonderful.
How many children would you like to see them have?
How many? Oh, 2 or 3.
And the first one better be a
A
boy.
girl.
A boy.
Girl.
Thanks a lot, Mr. and Mrs.
Davidson.
Davidson. Thanks very much. We have the groom's mother and father. Well, what are your names, please?
Mr. and Mrs. Al Hoffman.
How do you feel, Mrs. Hoffman?
We're feeling wonderful. We're having a grand time. And we thank God that we lived to the day to marry off all our children. Lenny's our baby. And we are happy and
Having a swell time.
swell
huh?
time.
Mrs. Hoffman, how does your husband look to you? I know you look pretty lovely here. Who gave you that corsage?
I don't know who it came from. It probably came from my husband.
Like everything else, huh?
Yeah.
Well, all right. I wonder, how did the children look? They look pretty happy to you?
They look lovely. And Gloria's a lovely girl. I'm very happy that he met her and that he's marrying her, and I'm sure that they'll be very happy together.
And she-
Lenny is a very good boy, and she's a nice girl, and they'll get along.
Well, they're really hitting it off swell. It's
I
a
hope
beautiful
so.
start. Excuse me. You want to speak to him for a second? I'd like to ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Hoffman, how did the bride and groom act last night? Were they pretty nervous? Were you
Yes, Lenny was a little nervous.
He said he slept very well, huh?
Yeah.
He went to bed early and he got a night's rest. And she went to bed early. And they're all prepared for the big event.
And it certainly is big.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
We got all our friends and our family with us. We thank God that they're all happy and with us and having a good time.
Well, I'd like to ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Hoffman, I'm going to ask the bride's parents the same thing. I'd like to know, how did you meet each other? When was it? Where was it?
Well, they happened to...
I mean, you and Mr. Hoffman.
Oh, I don't know. I think I met him on a train, gone to New York.
Do you remember?
And he was introduced to me, After that, we started going around every once in a while, and eventually we got married.
How's your husband romantically?
Not so hot.
What do you say?
I say that we are married 34 years.
It's a long time.
A long time. I should be pensioned by this time. But nevertheless, we are happy. We don't expect too much out of life. We take and give, and everything is all right.
That's good. Let's have a great big kiss from the groom's mother and father. Thanks a lot, Mr. and Mrs. Hoffman. And now the guests have gotten out into the center of the dance floor, and they're dancing to a good old-fashioned Jewish dance. Really is impressive. Almost all the 300-odd guests are jumping up and down, really getting into the spirit in this magnificent ballroom. Oh, we have the bride's mother and daddy, and they're very, very happy looking. How do you feel, Mr. Mestel?
We're wonderful. After marrying the third daughter, we feel wonderful.
This is it now, huh? Right. Well, she certainly looks very lovely and very happy, and you should be proud because the guests are all remarking they've never seen an affair like this, and I really mean that.
Happy. Well, they made for the place towards nicer affairs, but this, I think, beats them all.
Well, it's all I've ever seen. It really
Especially
is.
we have the in-laws from the groom's side. They're wonderful people, too.
Well, that's what they said about you.
They're wonderful people, and I'm very glad they're in the family now. We hope that we'll continue for many, many years together.
Well, amen. Amen to that. I'd like to ask you now, how did you two meet each other? I asked the groom's mother and father that. How long were you married?
We're married 30 years.
Do you remember how you first saw each other?
We knew each other when she was 16 and I was 18.
You live next door to each other?
We live not far from each other, the same as the bride and groom.
That's really something.
And that's the way we got together. We went out for 16 years before we got married.
Well, those are the old days. Well, now, I'd like to know...
He was a very good sweetheart.
Well, I was going to ask you that. You beat me to it. I was going to ask you, how was he romantically?
Wonderful.
How's your wife, all right?
All right.
Wonderful.
I'd like to know, do you have some good advice now for the bride and groom on how to be happy?
The main thing to be happy is to treat each one of them as good as they want to be treated. And they expect to have a happy life.
Mrs. Mestel, how's your daughter going to be around the house domestically?
Wonderful.
No, she's going to wash dishes and everything?
Wonderful. She's a wonderful babushka.
Well, that's all right. Now, I wonder, how many children would you like to see them have?
Oh, let them have as many as they want. I'm sorry I didn't have at least a dozen more.
Well, if you treat them all like this, then it's really wonderful. Now, I wondered if you could meet over the mic and how long are you married?
30 years. 30 years.
Could you give them a great big kiss for 30 years worth now, huh? Go ahead. Well, thanks very, very much. The very happy mother and dad of the bride. Thanks a lot. And now that the dinner is served, most of the guests are relaxing after a fine meal. Bride and groom are mingling with their many guests here, saying hello. I'm sure they all join with us in wishing Gloria and Leonard the very best of everything always. A life as beautiful, as happy, and as spirited as this wedding has been.